Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast. I've been meaning to watch that. I'm your host Monica. We are back again with a new week, new topic, new guests like we do every single week. And this week I have a very wonderful, very special, exciting guest with us today. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to her and let her introduce herself.
Hi, yes, my name is Maya. You might know me better as Bodega Veneta on TikTok. I'm a New York City born and raised, honey. Go ahead and jot that down. Content creator and podcaster. I'm obsessed with all things like culture, pop culture, mental health, astrology, yada yada yada. If I have an opinion, you're gonna hear about it on my TikTok. So that's basically my tea. And I'm really happy to be here. Monica said she's been a follower for a minute, and I was like, wait. So I'm very excited to do this together and just be pop culture obsessed black girls together.
Yes, I am so excited for this podcast. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on. Um,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And guys, today we're going to be talking about Nancy Meyers. We're going to do another director deep dive. And today we're talking about the illustrious, the amazing, one of the most notable female directors of all time, Nancy Meyers. But before we get into Ms. Myers, we are going to jump into our first segment, which is Media Mania, where we talk
Mhm.
about entertainment news and new releases. And I saw this article come across I think like my Google page. I don't know if this happens to you. Like you go on Google and they show you like some articles that they feel like you'll be interested in.
Yeah.
Yes. So I
And
saw this.
honestly, their algorithm hits sometimes. I gotta like
Yeah.
lean into it more.
Yeah, that's honestly how I find some of the pieces for Media Mania. So
Yeah.
I found this, looks like this blog post for Little White Lies. And the title of the blog post is talking about who killed the tween girl movie. And I was very interested in reading this because growing up, I loved movies like Mean Girls, I love movies like Princess Diaries, I love movies like What a Girl Wants. Like these are movies that either are free to watch on YouTube or they do reruns of these on like TBS, Freeform,
Hmm.
whatever. Cadet Kelly is another one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And they are the foundational films you watch when you're a young woman growing up.
Yep.
It's all about femininity, it's about girlhood, it's about empowerment, it's about being yourself, it's about not
Hmm.
letting other people tell you what to do. So it was very popular in the early 2000s to have these kind of like mid to low budget comedies come out centered around like female empowerment and girlhood and for young
Yeah.
women to like watch them. But it seems
Yeah.
over the years, there has been
Hmm.
a sharp decline in these kind of films. And
Hmm.
I was very interested because when I was reading the article, it mentions Bo Burnham's eighth grade,
Hmm.
it mentions Greta Gerwig's Lady Bird.
Hmm.
And when I was thinking back to a lot of the new tween movies, I guess, that have come out in recent years, you could
Hmm.
say I think there's No One Came to My Bar Mitzvah. That's a movie that Adam Sandler was either like a director or like a writer, but he was in the film.
Yes.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
and his
about
daughter was in it too, I think, right?
yeah, his daughter was in it too. And there was
Hmm.
also um uh uh Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. That is
Hmm.
one of the more recent, I guess, tween girl movies I've seen. But I think that the article is pretty accurate in showing that like there has been a very sharp decline in investing in these kind of stories for young girls because it seems like
Yeah.
more of the stories they have for adolescents have a darker shift in tone. And I was curious to
Yes. Yeah.
see if you have noticed that.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely have. I was a babysitter for I guess 2 years, and the first family I nannied for, they had an 11-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. And, at me being the pop culture obsessed girly pop that I am and, spending a lot of time with them, I would always try to convince them to watch stuff that I liked when I was their ages. And just like the media landscape and navigating the media landscape now is so, so different than it was when I was 11, which I guess was 15 years ago at this point. Jesus Christ. And, like I think one big part of it is that we don't have cable anymore.
Mm.
And I remember having to explain to the kids that I used to babysit. I babysat for two different families. So like kids from the first family, kids from the second family. I was like, yeah, like back in the day, you weren't able to just like put on whatever show you wanted to watch. Like you had to like they would pick the shows and schedule them, and then you would just have to like flip through the channel and see what was on there. And I think that's definitely one aspect of it, that kids just have like they just have the access and the demand to they have the access which meets their desire and the demand to do what they want when they want to do it. Whereas when I was younger, it was like, okay, well, it's Saturday afternoon. I'm already back from dance class. I'm not doing my homework till later. What am I going to do right now? What am I going to watch right now? And I would have to turn on the TV and scroll through the TV guide and
Mm-hmm.
read through the show descriptions and be like, yeah, like I'm going to watch this. And that was how I watched stuff like 27 Dresses on E at 3 p.m. on a Saturday, or How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and stuff like that. And I also think something that I was thinking about this morning in preparing for this episode is that, like, it almost feels like people are trying to like bring that back, but to me it feels like primarily like Netflix and Amazon are trying to do that. Like, I'm thinking of The Summer I Turned Pretty, the Netflix shows. I don't really keep up with them. I'm not a Netflix watcher. Them and their household situation. My
Yeah.
sister's the Netflix account holder. She lives in LA. So every time I try to watch something on her account, they're like, "You're not in the household." And I'm like, "Girl, fuck you." Um, I think like the Netflix approach of it, from what I've seen, is like hyper commercialized and cheesy. And I understand that maybe that's just not for me. But even the movies like that were popular when we were growing up, like you said, like What a Girl Wants, Mean Girls, whatever, those movies are timeless. And those movies are movies about teenagers and queens, but they are for everyone. And I think that's because that was a time when movie production companies were like, okay, well, we need to get people in these seats in these theaters. We need to make this movie that's going to be appealing to not only the children, but their parents who are going to be the ones taking them to the movie,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I think we're kind of losing that as well. And just like, similar to like the TikTok For You page of it all, like people are just getting content that is so specific and so siloed
Mm-hmm.
versus content that can like really appeal to everyone. Yeah. Yeah. We could
Yeah.
probably talk about it all day, but that's what's coming to mind for me right now.
I do agree with you
Yeah.
because there are shows and movies on Netflix that are like geared towards young adolescent like women, but like my first thought is like Fear
Yeah.
Street, which is a trilogy film that is horrifically graphic,
Mhm,
that I would not let, if I had a 13-year-old daughter, I
mhm.
would not let her watch that. And then I also think there is like
Yeah.
a movie called Michelle and the Mitchells or something like that, or the Mitchells versus the Machines, and that is an animated
Mhm.
film about a family road trip that has like a technological side. And then another film I could think of is Nimona, which is a very great film, and I love it so
Yeah.
much. It's about a young shapeshifter who
Mhm.
tries to help a disgraced knight, and
Yeah.
it's to expose like somebody who like betrayed him. And
Mhm.
I feel like both of those movies are really good, and they have the appeal of this is for families. This is something that adults can enjoy as well as children can enjoy as well. But I think that lately, when it comes to like film and television, people are more focused on like style. They're focused on aesthetic. They're
Mhm.
focused on prestige. They're focused
Yeah.
on making this like Rotten Tomatoes fresh.
Yeah.
They're less
Mhm.
so focused on making this like fun, and
Mhm.
enjoyable. Like A New York
Yeah.
Minute is a movie I used to love, and I found it really enjoyable. Or,
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of movies that Brittany Murphy was in, when she was like an actress, she was with us.
Yeah.
Those definitely define like tween girl movies, or like movies like
Yeah.
Clueless.
Mhm.
It's just about fun. It's about having a good time. It doesn't have to make sense, so to speak, but like we're having a good time at the movie. So like, who really cares? And
Exactly.
yeah, now films are
Mhm.
so focused on trying to be like A24 or trying to be like
Yep.
Neon, you know,
Or
and
they I totally agree. It's very much that they want like stylistically and aesthetically they want to be pleasing in that way to draw people in that way. And I won't go too much into it because we only have so much time, but like I think that's also kind of connected to like the anti-intellectualism epidemic that we're in, and that like it's easier to give people movie pretty, movie great music, movie great costume, rather than movie you need to think critically about, movie you need to engage with and analyze. And also something that I'm thinking about is that a lot of those movies, like all the ones that you mentioned, were like a lower budget, like they really were in back then they were in there making movies for teenagers for the love of the game. Also, like Millie Bobby Brown was just in that movie on Netflix with like Chris Pratt or something that cost I think
The
like
Electric
200 million
State? Oh
dollars.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like, that shit was silent. Like I've never heard a silence quite that loud. And it's like 500 $200 million or whatever the budget was. That could have made like five Cluelesses. That could have made like 10 Uptown Girls. And also another thing to think about is the fact that I like it's so hyper commercialized and they really are trying to like maximize output by like pouring as much money in as they can. And like that's not how we get like cult classics and how we get like memorable movies and stuff. It's that we have a compelling story first, and that's what's supposed to be able to draw people in, and then we do important things like costume design and set design and music scoring and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And at its core, Netflix is slash was a tech company if you think about it. You know, they just started producing their own stuff like as recently as what we're in 2025, so
Yeah.
like less than 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's definitely a lot of factors there. I really hate to see it. um and it's not even just a thing I'm noticing with tween movies. Like I've been telling my friends, I haven't gone to the movies and been truly gagged by like a new release in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it feels like we're losing the art of storytelling in movies, and it's very much about like what can be shocking, what can be a screen cap on Twitter, what's gonna make a song go viral on TikTok.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that, and I also feel like there is a shortage of roles for many young actors because there are a plethora of TV shows on so many streaming services, especially on Netflix, that have
Yeah.
all these really talented young actors, but
Hmm.
there aren't these movies that fit their audience.
Yeah.
You have all these actors who are on like High School Musical, the musical, the series, and I watched that
Hmm.
show all the way through. It was a very good show. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like the kids are funny. They all can
Hmm.
sing. They all can dance.
Yeah.
And what is the harm in making a movie about them like putting on a theater competition or a movie about
Yeah.
them traveling across the country, doing a nice little
Hmm.
road trip. Like
Yeah.
all the tween movies now are about kids getting like one kid getting his package like I don't know cut off or something on Netflix, and then like
Right.
girls
Like,
going on a road trip to find the abortion pill. Like there's nothing
yeah.
fun, there's nothing quirky, there's nothing
Yeah.
lighthearted and comedic.
Hmm.
And if you have this surplus of young actors that want to like break out into the industry, these tween movies are what gives them that leg up. These tween movies
Exactly.
are what gives them the platform. Like Lindsay Lohan, The Parent Trap was really like her first breakout role.
Yeah.
And we haven't had another Parent Trap. Like we had eighth
Hmm.
grade with Elsie Fisher, which was very good. But Elsie Fisher, I don't see her acting all that much, you know?
Exactly. Like,
And it's kind of sad. Like we have
mhm.
actresses like Bella Ramsey, and she's in The Last of Us, which a lot of people talked about, but I haven't got the chance to watch. And I would have loved to see Bella Ramsey before in like a cute little movie where they're
Yeah.
like
Why does she have to be like fighting zombies or some shit with Pedro Pascal?
exactly.
Like I don't. Yeah, like you make a really good point that the opportunities there simply aren't enough opportunities to meet the amount of talent that we have,
Mm,
unfortunately, which really sucks because I think that like young actors deserve to have roles that aren't just about like supporting the adults in the movie. And I especially think that kids now, like the tweens and the teens now, they need some good content. I fear they need stuff based on Shakespeare. They need stuff with lessons. They need stuff that urges them to look inwards.
hmm.
Put down the TikTok, put down the YouTube, put down the
Please.
Twitch. You're gonna watch a fucking movie. You're gonna watch a film, and we're gonna talk about it afterwards. Like I need. And then also like it kind of also I think it's also directly related to the loss of like tween spaces. Like like people have been talking about, we don't have a limited two anymore. The girls are on TikTok with the adults, so that's why there's 12-year-olds in Sephora now. And there's not really an interim space between being a kid and being a young woman anymore.
Hmm.
So I think the movie thing is directly related to that, and I think we need to be rebuilding that space because also I'm tired of tripping over kids in Sephora. So
Yeah, we need to put kids back in the libraries.
exactly, exactly. Go to Toys R Us and please step away from the Fenty Beauty, please.
That is not for you. You are too young. Yes.
Right.
I 100% agree. And
Mhm,
one more piece of news I did want to touch on. I'm not sure
mhm,
if you saw this show. You mentioned that you
mhm.
don't really watch Netflix, but there was a show on Netflix called Nobody Wants This. And it
Mhm.
was this basically romantic comedy show
Yeah.
starring Kristen
Mhm.
Bell, who is this sex positive podcaster with, I think, her
Yeah.
sister. And
Mhm.
she falls in love with a rabbi, and the
Mhm.
rabbi is played by Adam Brody. And when I
Okay.
saw this, I was like, "Oh yes, I am ready for this." So I did start watching the
Mhm.
show, and it
Okay.
does very much give Harry Met Sally. Like,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
very much the kind of, two white leads romantic comedy that
Mhm.
we've been waiting for. That's not too
Yeah.
cheesy, not too
Mhm.
hallmarky. It feels very realistic and honest, and I
Mhm.
enjoyed it a lot because I guess the biggest conflict in the show is the
Yeah.
fact that Kristen Bell's character, you know, she goes on this podcast, she talks about having sex. She talks
Mhm.
about leaving people on red. Her and her sister talk about sex toys, and she's
Yeah.
interested in this guy who is a rabbi. Like,
Yeah.
he is
Mhm.
fully man of God, deep in
Yeah.
Judaism. His whole family is like, when are you gonna marry a nice Jewish girl? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? Like, you're still single. You're going to shiva. Like, come on. And he starts falling in love with
Yeah.
Kristen Bell's character, and of course, his family has a problem with it because she is not Jewish. So, what are you
Yeah.
doing with this girl? But
Right.
overall, it became a very popular show on Netflix. It garnered over
Mhm.
10 million views, and it was also renewed for season two.
Okay.
It was renewed for season two like back in October, but I've
Mhm.
been just following all of the news around it, and it looks like production for
Yeah.
season two did start, I think, last month. So they're
Mhm.
basically moving forward with season two, continuing on the story, and I think it's a very interesting story because there aren't a lot of romantic comedies that focus on religion, and not in a way where
Yeah.
like they actually genuinely focus on like what is it like to date someone who's like a non-believer. And
Mhm.
if they do, it's, I don't know, I feel like it's sometimes veered towards like Christianity, but Adrian Brody playing a rabbi is very
Mhm.
interesting because there isn't a lot of Jewish representation in media. I feel like the most honest portrayal that I've seen of Judaism was in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. And that show is
Mhm.
also like a musical comedy satire
Yeah.
as well. So seeing something that's very authentic and grounded and also centered around like romance
Yeah.
and two adults trying to date in the world of apps. I
Mhm.
really enjoyed it, and I'm very excited that there's a season two that's coming out.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen it. I've been hearing a lot of good things about it though, and I'm definitely intrigued by the plot, and I do think Adam Brody is so cute. So maybe I will tap in and get caught up before season two. But yeah, I think I think it's a step in the right direction of what we're looking for content wise.
Hmm.
We do want a rom-com, and the intersection of like romance and religion, that is really interesting. And like you said, we don't have that many instances of like Judaism being represented that explicitly in the media. So I think it's like a fun and interesting new way to navigate it, and I am excited to check it out. And I saw that one of the producers from Girls on HBO is going to be producing the
Hmm.
second season, which I watched that show for the first time end of 2023, and it is a pretty good show. I gotta give it to Lena Dunham. So, and everyone on that show did great work. So I'm excited to see what they bring to Nobody Wants This.
Yeah, I honestly
Yeah.
enjoyed the show for what it
Mhm.
was. When
Yeah.
I first saw it, I didn't think it would interest me,
Mhm.
but then it reminded me of like how much I love rom-coms, and
Yeah.
it also reminded me just like how lonely I am.
And that's real.
Because to be honest, like I am a person of faith, and it can be hard to date because I
Mhm.
don't. It's not that I don't want to date guys who are also Christian, but like sometimes
Mhm.
they're
They're like
conservative, or
exactly.
they're just like,
Ex-
let's have Bible study together. It's like, no, Let's not
Right.
do
Like, why
that.
can't we just why can't we just both be Christian and then also go on dates and watch movies and hang out and stuff? Like, why does
Yeah.
that have to be the center point of the relationship, you know?
Yeah, because
So,
a lot of Christian guys are boring and they don't know how to talk about anything other than like their faith, or they're not actually Christian, they're spiritual, and it's
oh,
like, okay, so you haven't been to church since Easter. Got
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Stay away from me, please.
Mhm.
Okay, and
Did
go
was
ahead.
there anything about Nobody Wants This that like you felt connected to as a person of faith, even though you're not Jewish? Like,
Yeah,
anything that you could relate to?
I did relate to it a lot because um in dating, because it can be difficult at times,
Hmm.
I have dated
Yeah,
people who are like atheists and
yeah,
agnostic. And in my
hmm
head, I'm like, well, we're not going to get married. So let's just see where this goes. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
hmm
watching the show and watching how they interact with each other, I could see how they're connected. I could see how, they really do find other interest.
yeah,
In themselves and in their personalities, and
hmm
seeing the family, like especially his mom, how his mom was so like towards her, like
yeah,
apprehensive. And it was his sister-in-law who is like,
hmm
you need to get back together with your girlfriend, because at the start of the show, um Adam Brody's character is dating this girl Rebecca, and they break up. They just like break up out of nowhere because they've been dating for a long time, and he realizes that like, maybe I don't want to marry Rebecca, maybe I don't want to be with her, and then he just breaks up with
yeah,
her. And the
hmm
thing is that Rebecca is known by his whole family, so they're like, oh, so you're
right.
gonna do this to us, and he's like, you're not in this relationship, it's me and
Yeah,
Rebecca,
exactly,
and it's not
exactly.
even us anymore, so there's nothing
Hmm
to discuss here.
Exactly, exactly. Put that foot
Yeah.
down.
So I relate to that because, like, I know how family is, where they want you to stay connected with certain people, and in your head
Yeah,
you're like, I mean, but do I have to just to comfort you? You know?
yeah, exactly. Hmm
Yeah. And I feel like I
hmm
understood where he was coming from, where like he wants to date someone who is outside of what he knows. He
Yes.
wants to date someone new. He wants to try
hmm
something new. And it can be
Yeah.
difficult to find that, with how
hmm
people interact with each other, with like dating apps, stuff like that. And I've wanted that as well, like dating outside of my own community. But I feel like I have an apprehensiveness to it because I would not want to date someone who says like, "Oh, I'm Christian," but they're actually spiritual and they have like crystals, and it's like, that's cool, but like that's not my vibe. Or date someone who's a little too strict and they turn out
Right.
to be conservative. It's like, I'm not like
hmm
that. I'm sorry. So
Yeah, yeah.
it was very interesting to see how the show developed, and I feel like it was very well written, and it feels very realistic to like how hard
hmm
it can be to date when you're someone of faith and people have like a very fixed view of how you should be versus like how you are as a person, you know.
Yes, exactly. Hmm
Yes. But I definitely recommend it just to like anybody listening, because it's a very good comfort watch. It's fairly enjoyable, and I feel like Kristen Bell is such a phenomenal actress. Like, we've seen her in House of Lies, we've seen her in Veronica Mars, we've seen her in The Good Place. So this show just felt like another amazing show that is another notch in her belt. So I'm really happy she was in it, and I'm also happy that Adam Brody is in it because he is a man who is made for rom com. God,
Oh yes, we are so back. We are so.
please, sir, yes. Yeah, but guys, that's going to wrap up Media Mania. Just to go over some new releases real quick. The Legend of Uchi is a new film starring Willem Dafoe. So I would recommend you guys go check that out. I think it's not fully animated, but it's like kind of animated, kind of not. So feel free to go
Mhm.
check out that movie. Also, Drop is a movie that is starring the actress from White Lotus. And I feel so bad for forgetting her name. Megan Faye. Megan Faye.
Yeah,
Yes.
Queenie Pop.
I've heard a lot of good things about the film, and I have something very
Mhm.
interesting to tell you. I am like 6 degrees
Okay.
separated from the producer of the film. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So in 2020, I used to be like a Twitch moderator and a Discord moderator for YouTubers and
Mhm.
like Twitch streamers. So I used to
Yeah.
be really good friends with a Twitch moderator who worked for Damien Hawes. he works at
Mhm.
Smosh, and he has other
Okay.
coworkers at Smosh, being like, Ian Heacock, Shane Top, Courtney Miller, and Olivia Sway. And Olivia Sway's boyfriend, Sam Lerner, is the producer of Drop. And they made the film because
Okay.
someone randomly airdropped her a meme one day, and she was like, "This is so weird." And they came up with the idea that someone would airdrop her something
Mhm.
else, like to kill somebody. So that's how the
Uh-huh.
film was basically made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, that's so fun. And like that's a really interesting concept. I love that. And I love how like timely it is. And living in New York City, I got to a point where I had to turn my airdrops onto contact only. One time I was on my way to work and I got a dick pic while I was walking up West
Oh,
Broadway that I was literally on my way to work and it like ruined my shift a little bit. And then sometimes people just try to like airdrop you shit like on the train, like if you're up there on the thing, like people try to send you like memes and stuff, and I'm just like, I don't want anyone near my phone, actually. Let me listen to my podcast in peace.
hmm,
So yeah, I'm definitely excited to check that out and see what they do with it because the concept is that's really interesting. I think it's really fascinating.
yeah. I think the movie is out now, so whenever you get the chance, go watch it in theaters
Mhm.
if you want, or they'll probably
Yeah.
drop it on like Amazon Prime, Peacock, Netflix. I have no idea where it'll be,
Mhm.
but it looks like
Yeah.
it's a pretty good movie and people are enjoying it. So that's just another film I wanted to let you guys know about before we wrap up Media Mania. Now we're gonna go ahead and dive in to the meat and potatoes of the pod and talking about the critically acclaimed American filmmaker Nancy Meyers. Now, a lot of you may know about Nancy Meyers already. I know the name sounds very familiar. She is a household name when it comes to making
Mhm.
very heartwarming romantic films. And a lot of her films center around affluent middle-aged women who are navigating personal and professional challenges,
Yeah.
such as It's Complicated, films like Something's Gotta Give. She is also known for, I believe, producing The Parent Trap, and oh, actually, she made her directorial debut with The Parent Trap. My bad, which is a remake of the 1961 film, and the one that came out in 1988 starred Lindsay Lohan, which is honestly one of my favorite movies ever. I used to rewatch it all the
Same.
time when I was younger, and
Yeah.
upon working on this director deep dive, I realized that I have seen most of Nancy Meyers' films because
Hmm.
I think she does fit into the same kind of category with like tween girl movies where
Yeah.
I don't think her films are mid budget, so to speak, but like there is a certain aesthetic to her films, and
Yeah.
all the actresses that are in her movies are very similar to each other. Like Meryl Streep,
Mm-hmm.
Diane Keaton,
Yep.
Kate Winslet, notable household name white female actresses who have made a name for themselves, but can easily slip into the role of playing the every woman in these films that Nancy Meyer writes, directs, and produces. So she's definitely been someone I've enjoyed for a long time, and her films do fall into the category of like not mindless entertainment, but pure fun films. Like films that are
Yeah.
interesting, fun. They
Hmm.
have a deeper meaning to them. They talk about things that are real and things that happen in the real world, but also they're very enjoyable, and you can sit back after a long day of work with a glass of wine and watch them. So this was your suggestion, Maya, to
Yeah.
talk about Nancy Meyers' films.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about, her influence in your life and why you want to dive into her filmography.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so glad to hear that The Parent Trap is one of your favorite films because it is one of my favorite films, and
Mm-hmm.
also my podcast co-host slash bestie Fola, who I think Monica is also familiar with,
Mm-hmm.
one of her favorite films. So when I was younger, the highlight of my week was coming home on Friday and turning on Disney Channel and being like, what movie are they going to put on this week? While my mom ordered Chinese food in the background. And the first time that I saw The Parent Trap, it absolutely changed my life because I think up until that point I was watching stuff that kids should be watching. I was watching Arthur, I was watching SpongeBob, I was watching
Yeah.
Cartoon Network. And The Parent Trap was, a not animated show, but it was a show that was about like young kids. The twins in that movie are 11, and I guess I just really resonated with like the idea of having like a messy, complicated family structure and navigating that. And, me like every other queer girly pop who was born in like the late 90s, early 2000s, of course had a childhood crush on Lindsay Lohan.
Mm.
So it just like checked off a lot of boxes for me. And then I also remember watching Father of the Bride when I was a kid. And I think I watched It's Complicated more recently,
Mm-hmm.
but just, I would say that The Parent Trap is what made me realize, like, oh, like I can watch movies as a kid. Like that was what made me realize that I could enjoy movies when I was younger. And it was entertaining. I loved the part where they were all like like playing pranks on each other at camp. And it takes place at a camp in Vermont and in Napa Valley and in London. And it feels like you're in the movie with them and you're going back and forth between these places with the two of them. And yeah, and just a Nancy Meyers movie to me just feels like a warm hug because you always know what you're going to get when you go into it. It's going to be excellent aesthetics. It's going to be rich people doing some mess, which is one of my favorite genres of media. And, there's going to be great music. And yeah, and that's why The Parent Trap is one of my faves. That's why Nancy Meyers is one of my faves. And I think she's just such an incredibly, incredibly talented writer and producer. And I love her. So, yeah.
Yeah. I honestly feel the same way because I think watching The Parent Trap is what really got me into like films. And at the time, it's what made me want to be an actor because I later got into like musical theater when I was in middle school and in high school.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved the movie. I absolutely adored Lindsay Lohan at a very young age because,
Yeah.
The Parent Trap, Mean Girls, what was the other one? Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen.
Teenage Drama Queen. Get a Clue?
Oh, get a clue?
Excellent film.
Wow, that is a throwback.
I rewatched it the other day. I was like, wait, like they ate and like all these movies just ate so well. Like why am I 26 watching Get a Clue? And it's like because it ate. Like
Yes.
if you get it, you get it.
It's amazing. And I remember when I watched Confessions of a Drama Queen for the first time and I was like, this girl is crazy, but I want to be her. Like her confidence, like it's everything. And
Right.
I absolutely love that Nancy Meyers directed this movie because there are very few directors where, you watch a movie and you think, well, maybe this other director can do it justice. Maybe this other director can do it. Like Nancy Meyers, she has a very specific eye when it comes to her films. How it's going to be told, how it's going to be filmed, even how the people dress. Like how Lindsay Lohan, like Annie and Hallie, how they dress, how they acted different. I was just watching it and I was like, everything about this movie is perfect.
Excellent.
Like,
Excellent. And Lindsay Lohan she did each twin so much justice. Like, and then also I follow Nancy Meyers on Instagram as one does. And sometimes she'll like share little fun facts about the movies that she worked on if she like stumbles upon them. So a couple weeks or months ago, it was Hallie's wall of stuff at like summer camp, and it was like a picture of Lisa Leslie because she was gay and tomboyish as hell, and like it was just like the attention to detail is there, and then also Nancy was like, I did sneak in a picture of myself into her wall, so that's what I'm showing you guys today, and like you can tell that she has so much of a reverence for not only the story that she's telling, but the characters that are moving the story along and like the environments that they're in and stuff. And that just feels so wonderful to me. Like you can tell how deeply invested she is in her work.
Yeah. And the great thing about The Parent Trap is that it's a movie for kids, but it's also a movie for adults. And it's so interesting to see how Nancy Meyers kind of like approached this film when she was first directing, because she passed up the opportunity to direct The First Wives Club, which in my opinion is very interesting because I feel like The First Wives Club falls more in line with the films that she makes later on in her career. But I think that I understand it because she not only made this film, which is like a family-friendly film that like kids and adults can watch, but it tells a very interesting story of like how messy life can be and how like, the act of love or the pursuit of love in a way
Hmm.
where it is genuine, in a way where you see passion and you seek that wholeheartedly, and how it's not crazy, it's not delusional to
Yeah.
want to pursue that in your love life, because if it is
Yeah.
accessible to you, then you should go
Hmm.
and reach it. And then using like
Absolutely.
these young kids to do it is even
Hmm.
more sweet because like, oh, look at these kids. They want their parents to be back together. Like, oh,
Right.
look at the
And
kids
and they
meddling.
and did
Yes.
like, and I think it also, like, you bring up such great points. And I think also, something that's coming up for me is that, like, yes, like love can be like, it can be chemistry and it can be like a whirlwind and blah 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 blah. And I think The Parent Trap also really brings up the point, or like it portrays the point that that can't be enough, which is why the parents broke up in the first place. But
Mm,
eventually they came back together, and once they like spent more time together, and like, they were together with their daughters, they were like, like, maybe we can make this work. Like, maybe we are ready to be in the relationship that we were maybe not ready to be in 10
the
years
time.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's nice, because sometimes you do have to take a step back and, reassess and go through some stuff, and sometimes people do come back together. And I think that's really wonderful. And, I think it was that, I think specifically for that, like, the feelings obviously like never went away, but it was more so that they came back together and they realized, oh, it's not just that the feelings are here, but we also have like the structure to back that up and support our family and support us as a couple, but also our two children.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true. And one other thing I love about Nancy Meyers films so much is that a lot of times when you watch romantic comedies, you can always kind of tell where it's going to go and like
Yeah.
how it's going to end. And with
Hmm.
Nancy Meyers films, I feel like she does use certain tropes that are
Yeah.
used a lot in, romance films, like falling in love over like a holiday break, or
Hmm.
hooking up with your ex-husband, or like kids trying to get their parents back together. But
Hmm.
she does it in a way where it's smart. She doesn't rely
Yes.
on the trope. She doesn't rely on the easy way out. She doesn't
Hmm.
shortchange any of the characters really. She makes
Yeah.
sure that we thoroughly see what's going on in the movie. Because I remember
Hmm.
also the first time I watched The Parent Trap, I felt like it was kind of long, and I was like, "There's a
Yeah.
lot going on in this movie." But it's
Yeah.
because Nancy wants us to fall in love with the parents as well. She
Yes.
wants us to fall in love with the
Uh-huh.
story, with the family. Like,
Yes.
they're not
Uh-huh.
just getting back together just for the kids. Like, they are getting back together because they realize, excuse me, like you said, sometimes you need to spend time apart,
Hmm.
reassess, and then come
Yeah.
back together. And then you come back
Yeah.
together stronger. And
Exactly.
other movies, they may just throw that in there like, oh, the parents get back together, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, because they were
Hmm.
secretly always in love with each other all the time. But you
Yeah.
don't know that because they did not show that in the story.
Exactly.
They tell you, they
And
want you to
like,
take it for granted.
yeah, it's very much like a tell and not show type of deal. And I think
Mm.
with Nancy Meyers, like, just every part is so specific. Like, I love the fact that Elizabeth James had Martin the butler, and then um Nick Parker had Chessie, and they were basically each other's foils, but they were also kind of there to be like, yeah, I remember when you guys were together, like, when Chessie realized that Hallie was actually Annie, she like burst into tears, and she was like, "Oh my god, like, I loved your mom so much, like, blah 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 blah." Like these were, it wasn't just like the parents were together and they broke up. It's like, it's there were also other characters involved that were invested in their relationship and like had connections to their relationship as well. And I think I had one more thought. Yeah, just like, I'm also thinking about It's Complicated with Meryl
Hmm.
Streep and Alec Baldwin, which I think underrated Nancy Meyers joint, in my opinion.
Oh,
I might
yeah.
go put it on after we log off. But, she takes, like you said, she takes these tropes that are kind of common, but she knows how to add exactly the right amount of spice to like get you more invested in it. Like, in It's Complicated, like, Meryl Streep lives in this gorgeous house and she's like a baker and owns a restaurant and shit. And she's redoing her kitchen, and the guy leading the project of redoing her kitchen is Steve Martin,
Oh,
because of
yes.
course it is.
Yeah.
And then Alec Baldwin, of course, cheated on her with a much younger brunette woman who has a small son, and they're trying to conceive. And of course, that is why he bumped into Meryl Streep in the elevator when she was going to see her dentist. It just, like, she really does know how to, she does not put things in just to put them in. Everything really does come together, and it really does, help guide you, the viewer, to exactly where she's trying to take you.
Yeah, and I love that
Yeah.
you brought up It's Complicated because I found out that was on Amazon Prime. So I
Yes.
did,
Ooh,
I
I'm so
did.
excited. I knocked over my setting spray.
Oh my gosh! So I did end up watching it, and I remember watching this movie when I was fairly young, and
Yeah.
like I don't remember how I felt about the movie, so to speak, but I think in my mind, I was just thinking like, oh, she's going to like Steve Martin. He's not really like a viable option because when I was watching the
Yeah.
movie, of course, like I was influenced by the other romantic movies that I've watched, where it's like, well, she has history with Alec Baldwin's character. He's the father of her children. It's empty nest syndrome. Now that the kids are out of the house, maybe she will possibly like get back together with him and they'll work it
Yeah.
all out. But then now that I'm older and I was watching it, I was just like, I think I was struck by
Yeah.
how Nancy Meyers writes these characters because I was
Yeah.
honestly shocked by first of all Meryl Streep's friends because what is Rita Wilson doing here? Oh my
Right. Like,
god!
Ariana, what are you doing here? Like,
And like John Krasinski is here.
right.
Noe Kazan is here. What's happening? I was watching the movie. I was like, oh my gosh! And then Alec Baldwin came in. I was like, oh yes. And then Lake Bell. And I was like, Lake Bell, huh? Lake Bell, how old are you, Queen?
She's like, what are you doing here? But also, like, if Nancy Meyers was like, do you want to play a waitress in the back of my movies? I would drop everything to go do that.
Yes,
Like,
please.
that's my sister. Like,
yes. Yes. But I absolutely love It's Complicated as well because I feel like Meryl Streep's character is very much like the woman that you would run into at like a Whole Foods or like a
yes.
Sprouts. You know,
Yeah.
she seems very sweet, very nice. She goes home to her girlfriends and she is just dishing. You know, like she
Nope.
definitely donated to Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Uh-huh.
You know, she talks mess about Monica Lewinsky with her friends. Like that's the kind of woman that she is. You know, and she
Like, she's just such a key. Like, you're like, she's kind of real. Like,
and she's literally talking bad about the young woman that her husband remarried, of course, because like he cheated on her with the young woman, and she's having an affair with the husband. And me, I'm just like, girl, what are we doing here? He has a son. Like, I get it. Like, every single time a husband breaks up with his family, he starts over with a new family. And it's like, he like, old men do this all the time. They hit 40, they hit 50. They're like, time to start over. Time to make a new family. Because
Right.
they don't know what else to do with their lives. So,
exactly.
I get it. But, like, an affair, Queen? An affair? I mean,
They were just being messy boo. And like, I just love that, like, one of the things I took away from that movie, because I definitely watched it when I was older, like early 20s, and I was like, damn, like, even when y'all are like old, y'all are still messy. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go take my fish oil pills, and then I'm gonna go fuck on my ex-husband, and then I'm gonna go get ready for like wine and cheese night with the girly pops. Like, but also it's like, wow, like, you know, even people, the other side of that is that even people who are older and like seemingly have it figured out are messy, and that's okay. And it is okay for everyone to indulge in mess every now and again. And that's what I took away from that.
yeah, I feel like that is realistic. And also, when you're older and, you know, you want to get some, why not go back to somebody that you already know? Somebody who knows your body, somebody who's familiar with you, and like,
The father of her children, come on now.
yeah.
Like, I've seen younger girls go back to men that they had less ties to, if we're being honest. Like,
Yeah.
you know, go back to men who would sell them for a bag of corn nuts. You know, like, and what was Meryl Streep going to do in 2008 as a divorced, accomplished woman who owns a restaurant and lives in Napa Valley or whatever she lives in? She was going to go on OK Cupid.
Oh,
Meryl
absolutely
Streep?
not. No.
I think no. And then also, if you think about it, she was kind of getting her look back because she got cheated on. So like,
Yeah.
they'll never make her.
Yeah.
Like-
That is so true. I did love Steve Martin's character because, like, when he came to the film, I was like, that man was in every movie at this time. He was
my
booked.
diva, though. I fuck with him so heavy. Like, that's my diva down.
Oh my gosh. There was one point where he was driving, he was listening to a tape, and the tape was basically like telling him how to reconcile his divorce, and he's like, now, what would you like to tell to your ex-wife? She's like, that she's a hoe. And I'm like, sir, sir, this is not bring the house down. Like, Queen Latifah is not here. What are we doing?
Like, this is a Nancy Meyers film. This is a classy party. Like,
Pack it in, Steve. Come on.
Meryl Streep was like clutching her Hermes bag. She was like, "Oh my god!"
Like, what side of the street do you live on? What's going on here?
Exactly. I thought we were in San Diego. Like,
yeah. And I do have to say, I think this is one of Alec Baldwin's better roles, where he kind of plays into like the douchebag a little bit, you know? Because is Alec Baldwin a good actor? I don't know. I'm not the person to ask, but I did enjoy him in this movie because the way he was trying to like lawyer himself out of her, like, because she's like, no, we can't do this, this isn't fair. He's like, oh, it's fine. I mean, like, who's gonna tell her? And also, like, you know, we're divorced, we're cheating, like, we're not cheating, we're just, you know, rekindling, you know what I mean? Like, we have kids, like, it's basically nothing. It's practically nothing. It's like, sir, you liar, you're lying. So funny.
Mind you, he was like taking pills so that his semen could swim faster so he could get his much younger wife pregnant, even though she already had a young son and he already had 3 grown-ass children. Like,
you don't
just
need
messy boots. I feel like she wrote that script and she was like, I have the perfect man in mind to be this guy. She was like, let me call. What would happen if you just called Taylor up? And he was like, oh, word. Like,
yeah, having Alec Baldwin play the like grimy ex-husband and then having Steve Martin play like the nice guy who could possibly be her boyfriend, like, chef's kiss on the acting queen. Honestly, on the casting, really, we love to see it.
Yeah.
One other thing that I actually do love a lot about It's Complicated is that I think that this is probably, well, this is not her only film, but this is one of the films that she has that received Golden Globe nominations. And it's such a good movie. And I feel like it makes the case for like romantic comedies that like, they don't have to be bad. Like, you can make a romantic comedy messy, but you can write it with a really great story. You can make it very interesting, and you can base it in a reality enough where people can relate to it. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean. Yeah. Like, not everybody has to have a good moral standing, you know? Like, this is a film about real people, real life. Like, Meryl Streep's character, she's not like the perfect woman. She's a little messy, you know? She likes to bake pies for her friends, and then they rejoice that she's having an affair with the husband that cheated on her because she's getting over on the younger wife. Like, you know, it's a mess.
No, like they were so real. Like, her friend group was so real. And yeah, you are correct. Like, it didn't get as much acclaim as it definitely deserved. And I think it would have been better received now because I think just like, you know, think about, well, the last time we were in a recession was when that movie came out, if you think about it. And just like socially, I think things have shifted. And, you know, like, I think so much has changed that I think people would be more receptive to a movie that is so like inherently messy. And, you know, it's like, it's not a clean cut, stereotypical type of rom-com, you know?
Yeah. One movie that I really want to talk about is The Holiday, because Nancy Meyers, she wrote, directed, and produced this film. And it is, when I first watched the movie, it was around Christmas time. And I'm not gonna lie, I think that my siblings and I, we first got like Netflix or some kind of streaming service, and we were looking for The Last Holiday, but then it autocorrected to The Holiday. And we were like, Queen Latifah isn't in this, but
why is Cameron Diaz here?
It's like, my brother's like, oh, Jack Black is in it. And we're like, I mean, okay, we'll see. So The Last Holiday, for those who don't know, it's a film about Cameron Diaz. It stars Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet. And Cameron Diaz is this, she lives in LA, socialite, living the high life. Kate Winslet, she works in publishing. I think most of the protagonists in Nancy Meyers films work in publishing, or they work in like writing, something like that, which is very interesting. And basically they do a house swap for the holidays because Cameron Diaz is sick of men. All right. And
makes 2 of us, girl.
Kate Winslet is desperately, sadly in love with her boss, but he does not love her, and she finds out that he is getting engaged, so she decides to go live in LA because, you know, she's got to get away from her man. She's got to get away from that man. And I do want to say this is how many romantic comedies I watch. A lot of times in romantic comedies they have like the throwaway male characters in there where you don't really like you're not really worried about them because they're not there for them. You know, they're the bad guy. You don't need to know their name. But the actor Edward Burns, he plays Cameron Diaz's ex-boyfriend, and he is also in the movie 27 Dresses.
Oh my god, yeah, I love that. You were like, wait, Ariana, what are you doing here?
I was like, oh my gosh, it's him. It's like, it's him again. He's bad. I see you, sir. I don't think he's the white people's Mike Ealy, but like, I feel like he's close, maybe.
I look up a picture of him to refresh my memory.
Yeah. To be honest, I rewatched 27 Dresses recently, and I saw him and I was like, generic white man. Who cares? We're here for James Marsden. And then I saw him in The Holiday and I was like, oh, it's you. Like, just drop in the white guy. Please, guys. Send in the white man. Send in the hater.
They love a brunette with funky hair. They do.
Yes. So, Kate Winslet goes to LA and Cameron Diaz goes to Wales? The UK?
I believe so.
Yeah. And
yeah, it was London.
Yes, London. And also, I love the part when the taxi driver is like, well, girl, you gotta go the rest of the way on your own. She's like, are you serious? And he left her on the side of the road with her stuff. And I was like, oh, diva down. Diva down, help her. Yes. But then I think Kate Winslet's brother, who's Jude Law, shows up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how fine Jude Law was. Wow.
That was a man. A capital M man, honey.
Yes. Yes. What did you think of The Holiday when you first watched it? Because me and my siblings, we actually really liked it when we first watched it. And then my mom came in near the end of it. You know when your parents, they see you watching the movie, they just stand by the couch and they're watching it. And you're like, come sit down. I'm like, no, I have things to do. But they keep watching. And they start leaning over the couch. And they're like, oh, okay. Oh, why is
and
she
they're
with
like,
him?
who's she with again? And you're like,
who's
there's
that?
15 minutes left in the movie.
Like, I've seen him before. Where is he from? It's like, do you want to sit down?
Right, like, girl. The Holiday, I think I watched that maybe once like when I was in high school. I don't think I've seen it since, honestly. But something that's coming to mind for me is just that it is another one of those like those ideas of Nancy Meyers taking a trope that is kind of there and like making it way more interesting, because yeah, the idea of two strangers swapping homes and then like finding love amongst that, you know, like that's kind of iconic, you know. Like, I don't think I've heard anything like that before, and I think it's really fun and it's really exciting. And then, you know, you are taking these two characters who are like, you know what, I'm fed up with my life, like I need a change of scenery, and then you're just putting them in each other's worlds and watching them navigate that. And I think that is so fun and so exciting. And I think it's pretty cool, you know? And I love that for them. And I also just like, it also kind of reminds me of like the eat, pray, lovification, you know, like the idea of like a white woman being like, you know what, my life sucks, I need to go on a trip, which word, and being like, yeah, I need to change the scenery. We need to switch some shit up. You know, I'm sad. I'm going to book a plane ticket. And I really do fuck with that storyline and that trope of someone being like, I need to go somewhere else and have a change of scenery because I'm going through it right now. So,
yeah. This is related to The Holiday, but another thing that I found interesting about The Holiday and 27 Dresses is, well, this isn't only for these two movies, but women who fall in love with their bosses and they think the way to get their boss to fall in love with them is to be good at their jobs. It's like, girl, go on the clock out. All right. He does not care. He thinks you're here for the extra hours.
Yeah.
That's not sexy.
Yeah.
The spreadsheets, like the extra work.
No, like you need to be the personality hire. Like you need to lean in. Like,
also, you can't sleep with your boss, queen. Like that is your place of work.
Hello. HR. Ring ring.
You know, girl, they'll fire you before they fire him. So you need to watch yourself. Also, whenever I watch these movies and I see these women, they're in love with their bosses, and it's so obvious. They're like, oh yeah, so I cleaned up your schedule and your calendar, and I like, you know, got your favorite sandwich and I cut off the crust and I put on your best. They're like, oh thanks, and then they just go back to their desk. It's like they know that you're in love with them,
right?
And they don't care. They like free labor. That's what they like.
They're
Jobs
like,
are there to,
I need to make these shareholders happy,
yeah.
honey. You know, I'm not putting my reputation on the line for you.
Like he likes that you're pretty and you want to go
Mhm.
the extra mile for him because,
Mhm.
jobs are there to exploit you for a reason. Like,
Right.
girlfriend, you're getting underpaid. Because when he goes home at the end of the day, he's not thinking about you. He's
Nope.
thinking about whatever tall glass of milk he can bring home. That's why in 27 Dresses, he wasn't interested in Kay Heigl. He was interested in her sister, who was a
Mhm.
liar, who he should have known was a liar if he
No,
had two brain cells to rub together in that noggin.
that movie was nuts. And also just like the way that people will rationalize bad stuff to each other really does fascinate me. Or the way that they rationalize bad things to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'm like, okay. I'm like, you know what? I believe that you believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of us back down here in reality, we're not fucking with it. You can believe what you want to believe, but like, you're not going to convince me, mama. It's not
Yeah.
going to work. I'm also wondering, like, not to be like therapy pilled, but I'm like, what is it? And I think the trope of like women falling in love with their bosses is so fascinating, and maybe it's something I want to like read more about. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, maybe we'll talk about that more, like, you know, offline. If I find any good articles or anything, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's because
but I'm
women
one,
just like strong men who are confident and like good at things and
yes,
like,
uh huh,
if it's because you spend all your time at work,
that's true,
so it's a
that's true,
proximity.
yes. But I'm also wondering if it like the boss specifically is something about like, you know, like the fact that it's somebody that you can't have, and then like the whole like trying to be great at your job so that he'll notice you. It's like, oh, like I have to like earn his attention or something. I think there's
Mm,
something there.
yeah, you're
Hmm.
right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do want to say the one thing I actually really did enjoy about the holiday is the fact that Jack Black is a love interest. Because
Love
when I
it.
was first watching the movie, I thought like, oh, Jack Black is in this movie, and I was like, well, where's Kate Winslet's love interest in the back of my head? Because
You are so real. You are so real.
I was thinking like, well, he doesn't look like the love interest, so to speak, but
Yeah.
like, she spent all this time pining over
Mhm.
Jasper, who I really do think knew that she was in love with him. Because why would she be working during a party? Why else? Like,
Right. And I'm like, your job is not that important. Like you're not an emergency room doctor, you're not a heart surgeon, you know, you're not a lawyer. You can put down the computer and have a glass of wine with your coworkers. Like let's slow down. Let's relax.
yeah. And when he stepped away from the party, like in the beginning of the movie, he stepped away from the party to talk to her. He was just complimenting her the whole time. And she was
Yeah.
just acting like, oh, he was like, you're the only person here who's still working during the party. You're working so hard. She's like, oh, I'm just doing my job. There's so much that needs to be done. It's like, girl, he's trying to get in there. He's trying to get in there. Okay, open your eyes, open your ears, open them legs. That's what he
Like
wants. Thankfully, she didn't do that because she would have lost her job. But
hmm
when Jack Black enters into the film, of course, like I'm guilty of thinking, like, is he the love interest? Like, what's going on here? But I think it was very sweet to see. I think Jack Black. I don't remember. The Holiday came out in 2006. I'm not sure if
yeah.
School of Rock came out around that same time or later, but I think it was
I feel like it was before. I'm gonna Google
okay.
it.
Because Jack Black, he's known for comedies. He's known for being like this silly guy. In School of Rock was one of his most notable roles. So then
Yeah.
going on to do
2003. That's when that came out.
okay, so
Mhm.
from School of Rock to now like The Holiday, it's obviously a shift, and I love that Nancy Meyers has him as the love interest because
Mhm.
you don't really always need the hunk or like the brunette or
Mhm.
the blonde guy to be the love interest or like your sexy douchebag husband. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need
Yeah.
someone who's a little sweet and a little chubby and someone who is going to make you
Yeah.
feel happy. And it's actually very sweet because they're very alike, the two
Yeah.
characters.
Mhm.
When he finally asks her out at the end of the movie, she's like, oh yeah, sure. And they both look away. They're like, yes. Like they both are like, oh, I'm about to get in there. You
Yeah.
know?
And it served the plot so much better that he wasn't like hunky. Because like if he was hunky, it would be like, oh brother, like of course, you know. But I love the fact that because Jack Black, did I find younger Jack Black charming and endearing? Yes, but like I just think it's more interesting that he doesn't look like Jacob Elordi. You know, that's the first person that came to mind. I'm sorry. Or, you know, I think it serves the plot a lot better that he's, you know, he is charming and endearing mostly because of his personality,
Mm-hmm.
and then it also happens that like she's attracted to him because of that.
Yes. Because
Yeah.
is attracted to her boss because, like, is he pretty typically attractive? Yes.
Mhm.
But she also likes his work ethic and she, like, admires him. So it's
Yeah.
clear that Kate is somebody that doesn't really care about looks, so to speak, but cares about, like, what's
Yeah.
inside. And
Hmm.
Jack Black is not ugly. He's an attractive man, you know?
Not hope. Yeah.
Yes. I feel like his personality and his charm just add to his looks. And we are in very short stock of having love interests that, you know, people can like fall in love with based off like their
Mhm.
personality, who they
Yeah.
are, you know, because like you said, people are casting, you know, Jacob Elordi, they're casting Dev Patel. Nothing wrong with Dev Patel, he's so fine. But like, you know, you're casting men when you look at them first glance, like, oh, love interest. Like Henry
Right.
Golding, oh, love
Of
interest.
course.
Of
Yeah.
course. But you know, you have
Mhm.
roles you have people like Wumni Mosaku who was
Mhm.
in Sinners recently
Yeah.
and you know, there are people that were basically referring to her as like a mother figure, so to speak, or people were surprised that she was like a love interest, which is
Hmm.
ridiculous because dark skinned black women who are not a size two can be a love interest, can find
And let's
love.
wake that up.
Yes, can be attractive and be found attractive by like very
Hmm.
handsome men. Like I know some of y'all are literally like dying to eat Michael B. Jordan socks, but like that man is less likely for y'all to hook up with each other than Wumni Mosaku, who is an actress and who
Yeah.
was cast in the role for her acting ability, and
Right.
she was cast as a love interest.
I'm sorry. And like something me and Fola discuss pretty frequently is just the way that people in TV and movie spaces talk about like unambiguously black woman characters. And they're just so maddening because it's like, oh, you guys like, it almost feels like they don't see us as whole people who are like capable of like experiencing love and experiencing like great love. And, you know, it's like why wouldn't we, why do we have to, you know, like why is that so hard for you to reconcile with,
Mm-hmm.
that maybe a black woman is a love interest to a man, maybe white, maybe non-black, whatever, a man of any race that you think is like almost too attractive. Like the girls need to do some more unpacking, some more unlearning, because it's weird the way that they be talking about the girls online. I'm like, you guys are weird, and I don't like want to be in community with you guys, you know, because if that's how you guys feel about fictional people, I don't, you
I don't
know,
want to know
I
how you
don't
feel
want to
about
know
real
how that
people.
translates IRL. I fear.
Yeah. And I remember, I think this happens a lot, and I feel like CW TV shows,
Hmm.
because oh my gosh, when I was into CW shows, like I started watching The Flash for a little bit, and I saw how people were
Yeah.
treating Candice Patton
Hmm.
because she plays like the love interest in the show, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, why would Grant Gustin want to kiss her? It's like, well, he doesn't seem to have any problem with it. And also,
Right.
Candice Patton is gorgeous, Gorgina
Hmm.
George. So maybe you
Hmm.
guys need to push down the envy and the jealousy and replace it with something a little more productive.
Yeah.
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 It also happened with Riverdale too. Ashley
Hmm.
Murray talked about how she dealt with a lot of like racist comments when she was on the
Yeah.
show, and I think that kind of led to her maybe like being on the show a little less. And then there was
Hmm.
another character who was in Riverdale she's a light skinned black girl. She was in like this group in the show. Josie and the Pussycats, and Josie was
Yeah.
played by Ashley Marie, and one of the Pussycats started dating Archie, I think it is, the redhead, and people were upset about that on Tumblr. And in my head, I was like, why? This is a fictional show. He's not a real
Yeah.
person. He doesn't go to your high school. Even if he went to your high school using a black girl, what are you going to do? Beat her up? He don't
Exactly.
want
You're gonna be
you.
mad. And like not even just in the context of romantic relationships, like I'm thinking of um oh yeah, I was ranting to some of my friends about this in the group chat a couple weeks ago. That like I saw in the Gregorian year of 2025 somebody making a post on like the White Lotus subreddit. I was like, oh my god, Paula was like the worst character. Like she was this, that, and the other, blah 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 blah. And I'm like,
Natasha?
that season came out 4 years ago.
What?
Move on. Like,
Ridiculous.
and these are also the same people that were like sympathizing or like making excuses for, spoiler alert, the younger brother jerking off the older brother while they were on drugs in the more recent season.
I have not.
Like, what?
Oh my gosh. I haven't seen the most recent season. Girl, you're kidding. You're lying.
And it's just like the way it just like people think that they can
Oh
take
my
out
God.
their like they just have like such a vitriol for like women of color and Black women specifically, that they feel like they can take out on these characters, and that, because it's fictional it's fine. But it's like there are very real Black women that are seeing the way that you guys talk about, the way you talk about Black women portrayed in media, and like we're seeing the way that you talk about them,
Mm-hmm.
and we know that it's coming from like a really like dark and sinister place, you know.
Yeah. It's coming from a
Yeah.
nasty place for sure.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like disheartening to see, because studios also see it as well. So this
Yeah.
influences their casting decisions. And for
Mm-hmm.
anybody who says like, oh, studio heads don't care about what people say on Twitter, yes, they do.
They do.
Because someone tell me why Jacob Elordi was cast in Wuthering Heights when he does not match the description for the man he is casted for. That man is not white. It is a huge part
Exactly.
of the book that he is not white. And Jacob Elordi looks like every other white man. All right?
And like I love the doll, I do,
Of
but like
course.
he, I love a tall man that reads books and has nice purses. What can I say? But does he need to be in everything? It's similar to the people that want to cast Zendaya and everything. I'm like, girl, there are other Black people in Hollywood that could use jobs.
Literally.
Zendaya's doing just fine.
Yep.
Like,
And she would say so herself. Like, she
Yeah.
has to worry about whenever Euphoria gets back into production. So she can't be doing all these roles. So,
exactly. The girl got stuff to do. She got a wedding to plan. Like she can't be everywhere, everything, everywhere, all at once. You know?
literally, she cannot. Yes.
Yeah.
And just to bring it back to the holiday, I think watching the holiday at a young age and seeing Jack Black being portrayed as a love interest made me so happy, because it did remind me of the little scene he had with the young Black girl in School of Rock, where she was like, I'm insecure about my body. He's like, so I'm a little insecure about my body. I'm a little tubby, but you know what? I still rock on anyways. And to see him just like be unabashedly himself in his character in the holiday, and Kate Winslet just like kind of falling for him regardless of it, like that is such a sweet and beautiful thing to see. And these romance movies, they have a way of feeding into my delusion of like, love is out there for you. Like you don't have to
But
change.
it's not a delusion. It's not. And like, and I hate to be a cliche ass bitch, because I personally hate unsolicited opinion, unsolicited advice, cliches, everything. Like I like, because my thing is that if somebody approaches me, I spend a lot of time in my brain, so like I really do think through things a lot, like tens on tens of hours. So if somebody approaches me with a solution or an idea that I already thought of on hour like 2.5, I'm going to be annoyed, because it's like, you think I didn't think of that already, But like every pot really does have its lid, and like love is so sweet and so tender, and like it really is out there for everyone who is willing to like be open to it and to accept it and stuff. And it's just as you are, like, so yeah. I don't know. My Cancer Venus is jumping out, I guess. But I don't know. I love love, and like I think love is just so great.
Yes.
And honestly, like I think one of the reasons I like rom-com so much and like Nancy Meyers movies so much is because like there is, even though they're mostly known for like the aesthetics and the music and the great actors and the great writing and stuff, like there are lessons there to be taken away if you are open to it, and if you are like willing to take it in and think about it.
Yeah. I think that you're definitely right. There are a lot of lessons that people can learn from these movies. And one thing I've always admired Nancy Meyers for is the fact that she makes rom-coms, but they're very much like I've said before, grounded in reality. They're messy, they're complicated, but that's how life is. Life isn't something that's simple. It's not easy. It's not clean cut. You don't have the same meet cutes that you have in other romantic films. You don't have the same like dates or like conflicts that you have in other films. Like a lot of the movies that she writes, the situations that start off are complicated in of itself. But as the movie continues, it's like, girl, what's going on here? Like, oh my gosh. Like she, like in The Holiday, Cameron Diaz goes to London. She runs into Kate Winslet's brother, and then
Mhm.
they sleep together on the first night. I'm like, the first night, Queen? We giving it up that easy? Girl, do you know this man? Do you know his birthday? Like, we just met.
Mind you, he's probably been in the house more than she has because that's his sister. Like,
Yes.
it's crazy. He's like, I know my way around. It's not my house, but I know my way around. Like,
It's so
I
funny.
love her. And
Yes.
just, I don't know, she just does storytelling. And like, honestly, I'm a messy bitch that lives for drama,
Mm.
you know? So like, and I love, yes, I do want to see drama in a beautifully curated home set to Otis Redding and Dean Martin, actually. And I want to see somebody make a really beautiful pie. And I want to see everybody in a great outfit and be rich and messy and
Mm.
a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
And she just brings it all together so beautifully.
Yeah. And I really did enjoy so many other films of hers. Something's Gotta Give. That's another film that I watched recently. Another film where she picks. I I don't want to say like douchebag because like Jack Nicholson's character isn't exactly a douchebag, but he's not exactly like a sweetheart, so to speak. And
Yeah.
I like that she has these actors that are would probably be in completely different roles because Jack Nicholson is not really known for like romantic comedies. He also doesn't fall into
Yeah.
like he's not George Clooney. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
He
Yeah.
he looks like a man you may bump into a Walmart. You know what I'm saying? So nothing against Jack Nicholson, but
Mm.
I love that. Like we start off with Jack Nicholson, music producer who likes to sleep with young women because older men like to do that. They like to sleep with young women, and you
Yep.
can always tell Nancy Meyers is speaking from a place of experience. She's like,
She said, I've been there.
"This is what these men act like. This is what they talk like. This is what they dress. This is what they drink. This is who they are."
No,
All
she's an
right?
anthropologist,
Yes.
some might say. An anthropologist of old white men.
No, but real. She truly is because the way that she
Yeah.
writes Jack Nicholson's character is so interesting because he's charming and he's funny, but at the same time it's
Yeah.
like, sir, why are you running around with this young girl? Like she is so young. She's not for you, sir. And then you see his assistant and it's like, oh my gosh, he's surrounded by them. It's like a harem. Maybe I shouldn't use that word, but like, come on.
Right.
There are older men that are like that. Like I remember once I went into an office for an interview, and all the other like people that are working there, they all look like Sydney Sweeney, and I was just like,
Oh, that sounds like Black Mirror.
I was like, I'm in the wrong place. I'm in the wrong place. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Right. You're like clutching your bag a little bit closer. You're like, ugh,
I
what's
was like,
going on here?
I'm not getting this job because it's obvious. There's obviously something I'm missing here.
Right.
Something that wasn't listed on the job description, I guess. Yeah. Do you remember watching Something's Gotta Give?
I don't. I do remember Father of the Bride, which is like not technically a Nancy Meyers joint, but her at the time husband directed it and she wrote and produced it, I think. So like her influence is like still very much there.
I love the Father of the Bride movies.
And just like, I'm sorry, Steve Martin, like that's
Martin.
He's so uncle to me. Like I just want to hang out with him.
Yes.
And he's just so good at being like a dorky upper middle class white man. You know, like I love him so much. I love that movie. And also, you know, we're going right back to complicated family dynamics. She literally came home from study abroad and graduated, was like, I'm going to marry this man that I met 3 weeks ago. And they were like, oh.
Yeah. And
like,
and the mom was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then Steve is like, sweet? What the heck is going on? What the heck is going on?
They're like, she just touched down in America. What do you mean she's getting married?
like maybe sleep on it? Maybe like
right, suitcase not unpacked, still jet lagged, passport still in her carry-on.
Let your body catch up with American time, and then we can talk about it. You know,
right? Like let's go have a Big Mac and a large fry, and then really reassess. Because what do you mean you're going to marry this man you met in Europe 3 weeks ago? But also parallels to the Parent Trap because the parents met on a cruise, and they were, I guess the two of them were technically from different countries, whereas in Father of the Bride, Annie and I forgot the husband's name. Sorry to him. Good looking guy though. I'll give him that. They were both Americans, but they just happened to both be in Europe at the same time, you know? So, and like whirlwind international romance, like that's also very much her bag. Very much a common theme for Miss Nancy.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love Steve Martin. He plays like the anxious dad so well, where
Yes.
he's like trying to be accommodating, trying to be nice, but also like you can understand his insecurities because,
Yeah.
girl, what are we doing? I don't know this guy. Do you know
Hmm.
him? Like,
They're like, what's his middle name? What are his allergies?
why are we getting
Like,
married? Are you pregnant? Just be real with me. Be straight with me. It's okay.
and she's like 20, and she's like 22. Like, just
Yeah.
graduated college. Like, I don't blame him at all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Whenever like I watch movies where it's someone who's younger than me getting married, I'm like, babe, you don't want that. You don't want that. You don't want that.
No, for real. I was at work the other day, and I work in luxury retail, so sometimes we do work with like brides, like girls who are getting married and stuff. And my work best friend was helping out this bride. And he was like, "Yeah, she must have been like 27 or 28. I'm about to be 26 in like 3 weeks." And I was like, "Ugh, what is she, a child bride?" And then one of my coworkers, who's like in his mid to late 40s, walked by and he like busted out laughing. And I was like, "What?" Like, she was literally just in kindergarten. Like, that's my age mate. Like,
She was just in kindergarten. My math standards is not true.
like
Yeah, I'm 27, and whenever people younger than me get married, I'm like, really? That's your next step?
I'm like, you don't want to go to Greece.
Exactly. You don't want to travel?
You don't want to move across the country. You don't want to like. I would even prefer you taking up like marathon running, you know. And that's one of those mid-20s hobbies I definitely don't understand. But if the
Like,
options are get married at 25 or take up marathon running, send me the GoFundMe for the marathon because I will donate.
listen,
Okay,
I'll buy my running shoes tonight. Okay,
I will make
please.
a sign and I will be there on the sidelines for you with a
Mm-hmm.
Gatorade.
I'll
But
be
I don't
ready.
know about getting married.
I don't know about that girl, because that's forever, queen.
Illegally binded to somebody
A
like. Ugh.
covenant in front of your family and God? Oof, that's a lot.
Also, like, they want me to do vows in front of my family?
They want me to you. I have to talk about how much I like you. That's
Right.
embarrassing.
I'm like reading it off of a piece of paper. I'm like,
Cringe.
he's all right, I guess. Like, he kind of cool or whatever, you know, I fuck with him. And they're like, oh, we paid $8,000 for this wedding. I need you to speak like the Queen's English. Like, you cannot be talking like you're on the corner eating a bacon, egg, and cheese, please. Like,
Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Okay. Whoa. That's so crazy. I literally went to like two weddings very recently, and oh my gosh, I'm just imagining people be at the altar, be like, "Oh, he's all right." It's like, huh? $40,000 and he's all
right.
right?
Like, I just bought you something off of your registry. So if he's just all right, I will take the Nespresso back. Actually. Like, I need you to be 100% sure.
Yes.
110% sure, some might say.
Please, please, please. Okay. So, God, what were we talking about? Something's Gotta Give?
Father of the Bride?
Oh, Father of the Bride, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, those are some of my favorite movies.
Just an excellent film.
Yes.
Excellent. I might have to queue up all of her movies after we log off. I'm like, I need to watch Parent Trap. I need to watch Father of the Bride again. I need to watch It's Complicated. Like, I'm gonna be at work tomorrow in like a flowy button down shirt, like dancing to like the Shirelles or something, or they're gonna be like, "What are you going through?" I'm like, "I'm having my Nancy Meyers moment. Like, you
Oh
guys don't
my
get it."
gosh.
Like,
That is so funny. I also one thing I really do enjoy about Nancy Meyers is people like navigating relationships at different life stages because, finding love later in life, like it's something's got to
mhm.
give, or
Yeah.
finding like unexpected connections in the holiday, rekindling
Hmm.
past relationships, seeing all of these in a romantic comedy where it's not, done for laughs. It's not something that's like half-assed. It's something that is written with a lot of thought behind it, and also just focusing on personal growth for like older couples and just older people in general. Because a lot of times people feel like you reach a certain age and you can't fall in love again. You
Yeah.
can't meet
Of
new
course.
people, or like, yeah,
Yeah.
you could probably like reconnect with your ex-husband and like get remarried. Like that's a possibility, but like exploring the reasons as to why that happens and like how that
Yeah.
affects you as a person is something that
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of writers and directors do. And I think Nancy
Yeah.
Meyers, she has such a vested interest in
Yes.
representing what it's like to be a woman, but also being an older woman, because you still see in
Yeah.
Hollywood, like older women are tossed to the side. You know, they
Yep.
are put in all these certain roles of like being the
Mhm.
grandma, or like doing this, doing that, being an
Yeah.
old crickety woman who like does spells. You know what I mean? Like even
Yeah.
when like actresses are over 25, they make them into the mother, and that doesn't make any sense. Like I don't know what movie it was exactly, but it was a movie that was like not Gladiator, but was something else. I think it was Alexander. And Colin Farrell,
Mhm.
he was cast as Alexander in the film. This is an older movie. And Angelina Jolie was
Yeah.
also in the movie, and she was like a year older than him. And they casted her as his mother. And they also did this another movie with Andrew Scott and Paul Mescal. I keep forgetting the name of the movie, but the woman who
Uh-huh.
plays his mother, because in the movie he's like 30, the
Mhm.
woman who plays his mother is Claire Foy. And Claire Foy is like close to his age, I'm pretty sure, in real life. But she plays his mother, like his
Yeah.
adopted mother. And I'm like, when did she
Uh-huh.
adopt her? How old was she? How does this make sense? Why does she still look
Right.
her age? Like, am I supposed to believe that she's 60 or something? Like,
Hmm.
you think I'm delusional?
Like I need them to get real. Yeah, and like I feel like it almost like doing that kind of like dehumanizes old people a little bit.
It does, yeah.
And I think the Nancy Meyers of it all, like I think her having these, like you said, having stories about people at different stages of their lives, it really does help humanize people who like were kind of taught like once you're 35 you're it's wraps, like you're not important, you're disposable, whatever. And I think it helps to humanize people in those age groups. So I think
Yeah.
that's really beautiful.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
agree. And I need Nancy Meyers to, I don't know, I don't think she's retired, but like, girl, I need you to come out of hiding.
Hmm.
It's time.
No, for real, I need her on something.
I need you to open up that MacBook and get to typing. Please.
Yeah, let me grab my computer charger.
Mm.
All right, I'm here. Amazing. why isn't
Okay.
why isn't this harder? Annoying. Okay, whatever.
I wanted to know if you, do you remember the movie What Women Want with Mel
I
Gibson?
think so.
Okay.
Maybe.
You know, it's basically the movie where like he can hear women's thoughts.
Okay, yes. Yes, yes,
Mm.
yes, yes, yes. I feel like I watched this with my grandma when I was a kid.
I remember watching the movie, and I think there's another movie starring Amanda Bynes that
Mhm.
is has like a similar title. So I don't remember what the title was exactly, but I think that
What a Girl Wants.
yes, What a Girl
And
Wants.
that's when Colin Firth is her dad and she like goes to London to visit him, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And he turns out to be like
Yes.
the king or
Ex-
something.
Excellent film.
Yes.
Excellent film.
Oh my god, they need to bring these movies back.
No, like, oh, like I'm itching for it.
No, real. Also, when we were talking about that earlier, that reminded me of a little story I had, just real quick. I went to go see One of Them Days with a friend of mine,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
like mid-budget comedy films. I was so happy. Love SZA, love Kiki
Yeah.
Palmer Down. Been following her whole career. I went to go see the movie, and this mom, and I guess her friend or her sister or whoever, they were there in our seat. They were there in our seats, and they had their kids with them, like two little
Oh.
babies, and I was like, this is not a place for children. Like, this is an R-rated movie. When you go see an
Mhm.
R-rated movie, they're going to show you movie trailers that are for
Right.
R-rated movies. So these kids are going to see like horror trailers on a big screen. I don't think the kids cared because they were watching the mom's phone with the volume up, by the way. No headphones.
I'm sorry. Like, don't even get me started on people who play stuff out loud in public because we will be here for another hour and a half. Like, just antisocial behavior. I'll leave it at that. And like, and antisocial behavior, especially in the movies, I'm like, you literally came here to sit in the dark and watch a movie for 2 hours.
The least you can do is be quiet. Please. There's
Right.
only one screen playing. All right? It's right there.
And you know what? And hey, my mom was a single mom. She had to take me to the movies a couple times when I was younger. My sister always tells the story of how my mom spent most of Harry Potter in the bathroom with me when I was a baby because I was crying, which my sister and my brother want to see the movie. But like, we got to be mindful of why we're invited to the movie theater. Like you gotta, if you're gonna bring your kid in, so you don't have to pay a babysitter, that's fine. Let's give them some headphones. Let's lower the screen brightness a tiny bit.
Yeah, but excuse me. When we were talking about the mid-budget movies, it reminded me of how like kids don't have movies that they can watch that are like what a girl wants. So, like they could. I mean, you can go see Wild One, the newest anime movie that I think came out with like Lupita Nyong'o and Kit Connor. They were voice acting in it. And there's also a Lee Chu's movie, The Day the World Blew Up, that's out right now. But like, there are often not that many kids movies that are out for children to go see. I remember I also went to go see Five Nights at Freddy's, and there was a couple in the back with their baby, like infant, and I was like, this is not the movie for a child. Like, I don't know if the movie is PG-13, but I was like, this is not the movie for a child. This is based off a horror video game. Like, this baby don't know what's going on. Also, the baby was crying for most of the movie, but we do need more films like What a Girl Wants, like Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, where like, and like The Parrot Trap, where like parents can go watch it and they can enjoy the movie, and their kids can watch it and enjoy it as well.
I hear you. I'm right there with you.
Yes. So What a Woman Wants. I once again, my siblings and I were looking for something to watch, and we're looking for What a Girl Wants, and I think we mistook What a Woman Wants for it. So when Mel Gibson came on the screen, we were like, is he in this movie? Where's Amanda Bynes? And
that is the most like black sibling experience of like, you're trying to find one movie and you watch something else and you're like, why are these white people here? Like,
it's like, were they in the movie? It's like, I don't think this is how the movie starts, guys.
You're like, oh, you're like, when did Amanda Bynes get here? We're like 20 minutes in. Like,
and then we realized we're watching a completely different movie, but we're like, whatever, we're watching it now. We're in the middle of it. It's interesting enough. And truly, we probably shouldn't have been watching that movie, because Mel Gibson's thoughts throughout the movie were like, you are a dirty man. You're dirty.
Also, Mel Gibson, period. Ooh, that man is nuts. Like,
don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Yes. But he basically, like Nick, who is Mel Gibson's character in the movie, he figures out that he can hear women's thoughts, and he is a chauvinist. So he starts using this to his advantage to like seduce women. He starts stealing ideas from his coworker so that he
I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
to start getting favor at work. And one thing he realizes is that like almost every middle-aged man in a movie, for some reason, has a kid, a daughter, and it's like, I don't understand her. I don't get her. Why doesn't she talk to me? It's like, bro, do you see how you act?
Right. Just like, no self-awareness, just vibes.
Literally, not even good vibes at that. Like, bad vibes. But eventually during the movie, he, soon comes to understand women, empathize with women, and he soon rebuilds his relationship with his daughter, and he also connects with his coworker, and he realizes that he's in love with her. And I think it's a very interesting film, because on the face of it, like the trailers that I was rewatching just the other day for What a Woman Wants, very much is like, here's Nick. He's your typical average man. He's at his job. He's doing his work. He's getting it going. But soon he gets an ability that all men want. The ability to hear women's thoughts. And you'll see how his life changes. And it doesn't stay in the whole like, oh, I can hear women's thoughts, and I'm getting mad girls. Like, never lonely. All these girls on my phone. But I love it because obviously Nancy Meyers, the queen that she is, she writes a story where, you know, men will probably understand women more if you could hear our thoughts and you could know what we're going through every single day. And if you understood it, then you wouldn't treat us this way or talk to us this way or undermine us or
Yep.
think of us as your lesser counterparts, but also see us as
Exactly.
equals.
Yep. And like I I haven't seen the movie in a while, so I can't
Hmm.
say, but I'm also kind of just like men being like, oh well, if I wish I knew what women were thinking. It's like I feel like famously women, I don't know, maybe it's just because like my friends and I are strong willed and like have hard opinions on things. I say exactly what I mean a lot of the time. You know, but it's like me saying what I mean and you being able to comprehend it are two different things.
Hmm.
And it's like we really do need men to get on the comprehension wave because you
Yes.
can only explain yourself so much.
Yes. It's
Mhm.
about the comprehension, really. Like, you don't have to understand what a woman, you don't have to hear what a woman's thinking, because even if you could hear my thoughts, like, you may not understand where I'm coming from within the thoughts
Yep.
that I have.
And then like sometimes they'll be like, "You're crazy. You're overreacting," and it's like, actually, this is a very normal reaction for what I'm experiencing. You're
Hmm.
just not understanding where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Because, like,
Mhm.
men will see an older man start dating a younger woman, and they're like, oh, he's older, he's getting it in, he's got a younger woman, oh, he's so lucky, look at him, like, he's living life. And a woman will be like, why is he with this younger woman? For what
Mhm.
reason? You're 50 years old, she's 19. What sense does that make? You should be a woman your own age. You should be a woman who's on your level. You should be a woman who's in the same stage of you in life. How can you hold a conversation with this woman? She does
Mhm.
not know what you know. She is literally a
Mhm.
baby. You are with a fresh brain
Yep.
adolescent. That's why you're with her. And that's what
Yep.
the difference between men and women, like, a major
Mhm.
difference. Like, a
Yeah.
man will see a older man with a younger woman, and you hear another woman's thoughts, and they're like, "Oh, she's judging because she's jealous because she doesn't have
Exactly.
anybody at home." It's like, no,
I'm
sir.
sorry. I'd rather eat a denim jacket than be 19 dating a 50-year-old man. Like just and like also if they were more if men were socialized to, like take our word and our logic and our experiences more seriously, then they wouldn't be, their first thought wouldn't be that it's coming from a place of jealousy or envy. It should be that it's coming from a place of like concern and also
Yes.
the lived experience of having been a young woman, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Men,
Yep.
men. It always comes back to them, I fear.
Men, men, men. Oh, they're so crazy, so quirky, so weird. Yes. Do you feel like you have any final thoughts about Nancy Meyers as a director?
Final thoughts. I think that she really did pave the way for a lot of like the woman directors that we have now, and you can see that reflected in their work.
Hmm.
And I think she's somebody who made it clear that the story is equally, if not more important than like the aesthetics of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like I think a lot of these bitches are her sons,
Oh my gosh.
or they want to be her sons. And I just love her, and I'm glad that we live in a world in a time where we get to experience her, and that also the fact that you and I and other young women have gotten to experience her work so young, and it's just like, oh my god, like this is what life can be like, this is what movies can be like, this is, so that's what I love about her.
Yes, I definitely agree because
Mhm.
I appreciate that she never has phoned it in when it comes to her films.
Mhm.
Like, she shows people that romantic comedies, you can set a standard for storytelling. You can set a standard for how you portray romantic relationships in every single age group. And you can set the standard on your writing and your skill and your aesthetic and your directing style. You do not have to copy the way that other directors do it. You could find something that works for you, or you can adapt something that is familiar to a certain group of
Yeah.
people and then utilize that to your
Mhm.
advantage, because there are many people
Yeah.
that dress like the women in Nancy Meyers films, that decorate their
Mhm.
homes the same way that like Diane Keating's home is in Something's Gotta Give. And it's because she understands the certain style and certain aesthetic that women have, and also the lifestyle that they live. And to make films centered around that kind of like upper middle class kind of society and that way of living, but not doing it in a way where it is polished, not doing it in a way where it's surface level, not doing it in a way where it's just kind
Yep.
of like it's, it's sanitized, but showing things that are realistic and
Yeah.
gritty and sometimes, nasty and messy, but that's how
Mhm.
people's lives are.
Yeah.
It's like Real Housewives, but a little more high
Mhm.
class. So I,
Yes. And also I think like the fact that she's able to make it happen in like film is such a testament to her work because I was a TV and film minor in college, and something that my favorite TV professor always drilled into us is that, like you are working, you have limited real estate, you have limited time. You cannot just be putting in lines and characters for no reason. Like everything should be serving a purpose. And with a movie, you have 2 hours to build all these characters and build all these storylines and get us invested in them. And lay out all the plots and resolve them, and she never misses, never ever misses, and every single movie is a hit. Like,
that is so true. Yes. So, Nancy Meyers, the queen that you are, oh my gosh, absolutely adore your work, absolutely love it. And she really has left such a lasting impact on the filmmaking industry as a
yeah.
female filmmaker, but also in the romantic comedy genre. And
Uh-huh.
I really do hope to see her come back in some way
Yes.
to make another movie. And Queen, do not pick up the phone for any of these streaming services. Make sure it goes right to the theaters.
No, because she was supposed to do something with Netflix. So I just Googled it, and apparently, um, she's not. She was going to do a movie with Netflix, but she wanted like a $130 million budget, and they said no,
Oh,
and they couldn't agree on it. So, mind you, they just gave $200 million for Millie Bobby Brown to do whatever the fuck she was doing. And nobody watched that shit. And I'm sure Nancy Meyers didn't write it. So hate to see it.
it's so funny how Netflix will throw their money at like the most banal things on their site, knowing that people don't like it, don't enjoy it. Like even the critics don't like it. Even like the most brain dead Netflix watchers are like, "What's going on?" Like the people
And the
who
thing
like,
is, like, they started off so strong too. Like Orange is the New Black, like catapulted them into prosperity
yeah,
as a production company. And then I'm thinking of BoJack Horseman, and those are the only two Netflix shows I can think of right now for whatever reason. I have been logged out for a while,
yeah,
but I think it's like kind of like the childhood star of it all, where you peak too early, and then it's like, what do I do now, and how do I keep up that momentum? And instead of listening to what it is that people want, they're like, what's going to make us the most money? But it's like, ultimately, if you can make people happy and make great content and make money, and that's, you actually should be aiming to do all three.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's not as hard as they're making it out to be, but
it's not.
if you keep throwing money at like complete and utter duds, you're just going to keep losing money. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
like, what do you expect us to do? But Nancy Meyers, my queen, please, 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 if Universal Studios gives you a call, pick up that phone, girl. Pick
Exactly.
up the
Nancy
phone.
Meyers, please save us. Please.
Please swoop it and save us, queen. We need new romantic comedies, like, so desperately. So, Universal Studios, Lionsgate, if by some stroke of luck you're listening to this, give Nancy Meyers a call, because there are two girls waiting for her to
We
reemerge.
need her. And me and the girly pops will be seated.
Yes.
Okay, khaki pants on, button-down shirts on. Like I will dress up like it was Challengers. Okay, like it was Challengers, like it was Barbie. Like me and the girls will make it a marketing event. Like,
We'll be ready to go. Yes.
yes.
So, guys, that was our director deep dive into Nancy Meyers, her filmography. So, before we wrap up the podcast, we're going to go to our next segment, which is Watch List, where we talk about movies and TV shows that we're excited to see that are coming out soon or maybe already out.
Yes.
One show that I am excited to watch is The Pit. I have started it. I'm on episode 3.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh, it is so intense. It's so real. Like, I'm really trying to get through it. I am, but it's it's actually killing me. And usually I don't watch medical dramas. I don't.
Yeah.
But this movie, everyone has been talking about it. And for those who don't know, The Pit is a new show on Max where it follows 15 hours of an overnight shift, or like I think a day shift at an ER, and
Mhm.
it's a tough watch, but it's very, very good. It's very intense, and it starts off pretty slow, but then once it gets going, it does not stop. So you really have to be
Mhm.
ready to lock in, because this is not a show
Yeah.
you can watch or play in the background when you're doing laundry. Like, this is a show you actually have to sit down and, like, you got to consume it, and it will
Mhm.
consume you. It will eat you up, spit you out. So I'm watching that, and I just finished watching or rewatching Industry on Max because
Some.
it had been a while. And Harpsichord. My God, you are the messiest girl at brunch, and I don't know how to feel. I know that one of the actors for Industry left after season
Yeah.
three. It was the guy who played Robert, and I understand why he left now. Because after I finished watching season three, when I first started season three, I was like, "Oh, I get why he left," and then it just kept going, and just kept
Hmm.
getting worse. And
Hmm.
honestly, the actor who played Gus Saki, he got like a Rising Actor award at the BAFTAs, which is the same award that Letitia Wright got, I think, years prior. So I'm like, he's on his way. You know, he's
Yeah.
good. He was in Ride Lane. He was in the Alien
Mhm.
Romulus movie. So, like, I'm positive that the actor who played Robert is right on his heels.
Yeah.
So I just know that he's going to be good. But I absolutely love Industry. I adore it. I love messy shows, and because I also work in finance, when I was
Hmm.
like watching the show and I'm watching what these people are doing, I'm like, y'all are all going to jail, prison. Someone call the SEC. What's going on? It's crazy to me because when I was
Mm.
watching Succession, I was like, I feel like I kind of get what's going on. But when I was watching Industry, I was like, this is not how you operate on a sales floor. This is not how you talk to people. But people like Eric and Rishi, they are a dime a dozen in
Mhm.
finance and sales. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, the way that they be acting, the way they be moving, is I would keep my head, I would keep my head down. I would keep my lips
Hmm.
closed. You ain't see me, you don't know me, I'm just doing my job. Don't ever talk to me, like, never. But I don't know. Oh, The Amateur. That's something I'm excited to watch. It's a new movie with Rami Malek,
Okay.
and I loved Mr. Robot. I enjoyed Bohemian
Mhm.
Rhapsody. So The Amateur, I'm very excited to watch because it's still in theaters now, and I need to go see it before they
Yeah.
pull it out of theaters. So that's what's on my watch list this week. What's on yours, Maya?
All right. What's on mine? Okay, so I am an Apple TV evangelist.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I don't know. They be kind of cooking on there.
They do.
Your Friends and Neighbors
Oh my
is pretty
gosh,
great.
I have to watch that movie, that show.
It's like okay, the first episode, me and the girlies were debriefing in the group chat. And we're like, or like, Fola watched it before I did,
Mm.
and she was like, like it was like whatever. And then I was like, I watched it too, and I was like, I could see that, but I was like, I actually need more of this. Like, I need to see exactly where the story is going. But basically, the premise is that John Hamm plays this hedge fund manager who is, um, he is let go from his job for like
Yeah.
fucked up reasons. Like, his job basically conspired against him to fire him and keep his clients and stuff. But he also is like recently divorced because his wife just was having an affair with his best friend, who
Mm.
is also a professional basketball player. So basically he's like, well, I need to continue to make money, and I actually can't find a new job yet because I have a non-solicit agreement.
Mm.
So I'm just going to start stealing from my
Oh
other
my
really wealthy neighbors
gosh.
in this fictional neighborhood in Connecticut. And his ex-wife is played by Amanda Peet, and they have two kids in the show that are adults that are pretty cool. Olivia Munn is in it, and it's just
Mm.
rich people being messy and crazy. And I do look forward to my new episode every week. So that's a lot of fun.
Mm.
If you are another pop culture girly, I'm more in like a podcast wave, I think, right now, just because like I listen on my commutes. But
Mm.
let me say this with Peyton Dix and Hunter Harris, my holy grail. Those are my sisters. They raised me. It basically feels like you're going out with your older coworkers who are equally as pop culture obsessed and highly opinionated as you are. So if you're also a pop culture girl, you should check that out. And I'm also excited to watch the name is escaping me, but it's the new Rami Youssef animated show that I think is on Hulu or Amazon Prime, and it's basically about like a Muslim family navigating living in America post 9/11, and I believe A24 produced it. And I love Rami Youssef. I loved Rami, and I think he's really talented. And we haven't really, even as a New Yorker, I don't think we've ever gotten representation of in like media of what it was like to be a Muslim person in America, specifically the Northeast after 9/11. So I'm really excited to see his take on that because I think it's supposed to be like a drama comedy and it's animated. So yeah, that's what I'm excited to watch.
I actually did see that show. It's called, let's see, number one, Happy Family USA. I
There we go. Okay.
I did see the show on my Amazon Prime the other day because it was, I think it just came out recently, and I was like,
Mhm.
interesting. But I hadn't looked it up yet, and then I saw a friend of mine talk about it on TikTok, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize he was making more content. In the back of my head, I was like, wait a minute, no more seasons of Rami? It's like, let me look up Rama Youssef and see if that show, Hulu canceled that show or not, because I actually do need to catch up on that,
Yeah.
because he kind of left me in the lurch with the
Mhm.
last season with Mahershala Ali's.
Excellent show.
Oh my gosh. Such a good show. Listen, you want to write about what it's like to be an immigrant, a child of immigrants, and also come from a religious family? Oh my gosh. As someone who is
He's
Haitian
so talented. That's my
American,
poop.
Haitian American, born and raised in a Christian church, a Haitian church at that, like watching
Mhm.
Rami's show, I was like, I know so many men like Rami. I know so many of y'all. I know why you'll
Mhm.
never date a Muslim woman, because they don't want you anyways.
Oh, and let's wake that up. And let's wake that up.
Not too much, not too much. Oh my gosh. But I'm gonna put that on my watch list because I do love Rami Youssef. And
Mhm.
I also use Apple TV because I think I got like a couple months for free on Apple
Yeah.
TV on like some kind of deal that Apple was doing. So I was like, oh,
Mhm.
you know what? I'll check it out and I'll see what they have. I can't
Yeah.
remember what the first show on Apple TV I watched was,
Mhm.
but there are
Mhm.
a couple shows on Apple TV I really do like now. Like I love Slow
Yeah.
Horses. I
Mhm.
love Mythic Quest.
Mhm.
I really like the show Bad Monkey. It's only one season, but it starred Vince Vaughn, and
Mhm.
it was actually a very interesting show. It had a
Yeah.
very good premise, and also all the actors in it were like, they're those actors that you see in like movies and TV shows. So you're like, oh, I've seen that person somewhere. I've
Yeah.
seen them someplace, and to see them all
Mhm.
collected together in one TV show, I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
the casting of this is not bad. Like
Yeah.
this is pretty good. So
Mhm.
your neighbors and friends, that is something that I did put on my watch list a
Mhm.
while ago, just because
Yeah.
I love John Hamm, and I think he's such a good actor. Like I'm,
That's like
I'm.
love him.
You can't get me to watch Mad Men because I feel like it's one of those
Mhm.
shows that like everyone talks about, and I'm like that might not be for me. Um,
It is one of my favorite shows, I will say, but it's definitely not for everyone. But I think you would enjoy it. I think you should give the first season a couple episodes because like it's about like advertising in the 60s, and it's also about like his internal conflict as like a creative director and as a person, and like it's definitely revered for a reason, and it's
mm.
definitely great. But it's also not a show that I recommend to a lot of people because I'm just like a lot of you bitches wouldn't get it. I'm like only the real ones would really get what's going on here, you know?
Yeah,
So
you gotta be tapped in.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I was just looking through Apple TV and I realized I actually do watch a lot of shows on here more than I
Mhm.
realized because Severance, obviously, that's a good one that a lot of people
Yep.
talked about. And I realized now the first Apple TV show I did watch was Ted Lasso because I think
Uh-huh.
that was their most popular show at the time. But
Mhm.
then I also watched Dickinson. I watched Presumed Innocent,
Mhm.
messy show. I had mixed feelings about
Yeah.
that. Shrinking, of course, was such a delight. Jessica James
Mhm.
and Harrison Ford's relationship is so cute. And
Yeah.
seeing the response people had to her, like, yelling at him at that award show is like, you guys don't understand. They work together. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think y'all get it. Like, he was friends for years with Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher, the
Yeah.
queen, who you all loved, who was outwardly messy and
Mhm.
not at all demure, not at all soft spoken, not at
Mhm.
all cute and quiet. Like she is not
Yeah.
that person. So him hanging out with Jessica, like she and her so alike, so similar in
Yeah.
personality. So of course Harrison Ford loves her down. Um,
Mhm.
yes, that show as well, and also Lessons in Chemistry, which I think
Mhm.
was on Apple TV, and I don't feel like a lot of people watched it, but I actually enjoyed it. And I feel like
Mhm.
I don't mean this in the wrong way, but I feel like a lot of people have a perceived notion of Brie Larson as someone who's like
Okay.
cold and not very like likable. But
Yeah.
I think in the show, she kind of plays it up to the benefit of the character because she is
Okay.
cold and science-y and like
Mhm.
very antisocial, but also she's like the only female scientist in her lab, I think.
Yeah.
And it's like in the 50s, I believe, or in the 60s, and she's only surrounded by men, you know.
Yeah.
And Lewis Pullman, he basically plays like her romantic opposite. And I remember watching the show, and I was like, "Who is this man? He's actually kind of fun. Wait, who are you?"
Wait a minute.
I was like, "This is a romance? Hold on." It's actually a very sweet romance. It's fairly good. I liked it a lot. So yes, I am right there with you as an Apple TV Plus evangelist.
Oh yes. Yes.
Yeah, I know that most people don't have it probably, or like maybe people don't see a need to have it, but y'all got to give it a try.
It's a hidden gem.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only streaming service that has an Oscar-winning movie on it, so.
Oh. And let's wake that up.
I don't think Apple TV cares if you share households either, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As they should.
Mm-hmm. And I'm paying over $20. I think I'm paying $26 for Netflix right now. So. And Apple TV is only $9.99. So maybe you guys need to let Mr. Sarandos know that, like, it's time to say bye-bye. You know?
Yeah.
Yes. Maya, where can people find you if they want to look you up on the internet somewhere?
Oh my God, of course. You can follow me on TikTok, which is at bodega, B0DEGA.VENETA. That's on TikTok. You can follow me on Instagram, which it's my personal Instagram, but whatever. It's maya.maharaj, MAHARAJ. And I also have my own podcast that I co-host with my internet sister, Miss Fola. It's called Maya and Fola Take Over the World, and you can stream that on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Awesome. Guys, Maya's links will be in the description down below. Her TikTok, Instagram, and the podcast as well. Go ahead, follow her, check them out, and go ahead and follow us on all our socials as well. Subscribe to the Patreon, subscribe to the YouTube, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, and listen to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, does not matter. And I want to thank you guys again for coming back for another episode. Thank you so much, Maya, for joining us. It was such a pleasure and such a delight to speak with you.
No, this was so much fun.
And guys, don't forget to tell your friends and family about your new favorite podcast. I've been meaning to watch that. I'm your host, Monica, and I'll see you guys next week with a new topic and a new guest like we do every single week. Bye!